Here we are, it's fall, it's snowing out, there's snow on the ground, not a soul in sight, a great time to be on the water. I love fishing swim baits. Swim baits are a great multi-species bait. You can fish them anywhere. I fish them a lot with customers just because they're easy to fish. We're sitting on the edge of a hump. These fish are sliding off. They're getting ready to go into their wintering holes. There's no wrong way to fish a swim bait. I really love these new Largo shads. You couple that with the fact that I'm using the hybrid swim bait jig. What I love about this is it's got the screw lock on it. It's a perfect pairing for fishing these swim baits. These swim baits are really, really durable. You can get a lot of fish on one bait. You screw that onto that jig head and it's the perfect pairing. You know, spring and fall when the water temperatures are cold. I mean, surface temps right now are 44, 45 degrees, so I'm slow rolling this bait along the bottom and these fish are just grabbing it. They're picking it up off the bottom. What I like about that is they don't have to expend a lot of energy to grab that bait. I'm just slow rolling it. As you see, I'm not even getting fancy with this bait, and they're cracking it. Just engulfed it. A 4-inch bait, and this fish just inhaled it. Oh, look at that. That's what I mean. Just ticking it off the bottom ever so slightly. It's not even really a deflection bite. It's just cranking it off. Yes, it's bouncing off of things, but they don't have to expend any energy to inhale that bait. And they are loving these Largos. All right, let's get this girl back in there. It works because it's so simple and the technique is so simple. Like I said, slow rolling it. What I like to do is throw it out there using a little bit heavier head just because I'm covering multiple depths and it's a little windy out here. So I tend to favor a little bit heavier head than lighter head, especially in these conditions. Let it hit the bottom. As soon as it hits the bottom, it just starts cranking. Nothing fancy at all, and it just catches fish. When I'm fishing these swim baits, you know, I like fishing them on long casts, but then working these baits all the way back to the boat. You know, a lot of people have a tendency to, when you get halfway in or close to the boat, to just crank it back in. You know, these fish will follow it all the way back. You know, it's important to work it all the way back to the boat and not just start reeling it back to the boat when you get close. Bring it all the way in. So many times, smallmouth, walleyes, pike will follow it right to the boat. Like I said, I'm covering multiple depths, so I'll just spot lock myself on this point, and then I'm just casting. You know, I'll start at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and I'll just kind of work my way down until I find, you know, these fish are kind of just cruising along. Some of them are sitting on the edge of this lip, some of them are on top. And so I can really cover multiple depths just by spot locking in one spot and then just casting, you know, almost on a clock system. With these swim baits, I can cover a lot of water. Even though I'm slow rolling these baits, I'm still working all the way along this point, along this hump. I'm moving. As soon as I find those fish, that's when I'll spot lock. But it's more power fishing than you think, you know. Even if you're not sure where the fish are or if you don't have the greatest electronics, by throwing a swim bait, you sure can cover a lot of water quickly. Now, I like throwing on these sharp edges, like I said, so I can cover multiple depths, but what I found is that smallmouth love these like long fingers that come off these humps and then dump into these deeper wintering holes. They also like these little inside turns, or where the wind's blowing across, it'll blow that bait fish into those little turns, those little corners. Find anywhere obviously where there's rock on those corners, where you get big boulders that dump into a sharp mud transition. They'll drop down there, especially as it gets cold, but if you get a warm up day, they'll slide right up on that edge. And by throwing the swim bait, I can throw it up top and then work it all the way back down the edge of that thing. You know, I find most of these smallmouth will be loaded up in just a couple select areas. So you'll find big concentrations of fish in just a couple areas in the entire lake. And what I mean by wintering holes are these deep holes that are adjacent to the structure. It could be a deep hole in between structure. It could be a really sharp break that leads out into deeper water, a transition. But it's just areas where these fish congregate all winter. You know, a lot of times these fish will lay dormant almost all winter out in these deep water areas. And then, like I said, as soon as that water warms up in the spring, they start sliding up on these edges. They do the exact opposite in the fall. So they'll be up on top of these humps. As soon as it gets cold, they'll start making their way out into that deep water. I like to throw a spinning rod with these swim baits. Like this one's a 6'8". I also use a 6'10" or 7 foot. And then just medium power, extra fast tip. I love that extra fast. That way, when they hit it from afar, I can really set the hook, and it's just instantaneous hook setting power. There he is. I love how simple this technique is though. Like I said, whether it's guide clients in the boat with me, myself, my son loves fishing swim baits because it's easy. You can do it out of a boat, you can do it out of a kayak, you can do it on shore. We're out here, there's nobody on the water, and we're blasting big bronze backs. So much fun. Fishing doesn't have to be super, super technical to catch a lot of fish, not with a swim bait. Matter of fact, it's just the opposite. Oh, tanker, fall tanker. Whether it's fall or spring, they got that big toad belly on them. I love it. Not a soul on the lake, and we're cracking big bronze backs. Doesn't get a whole lot better than this.